Are you looking for the best camera for photography? In this video we will look at some of the 5 best camera for photography on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Starting at number 1. Sony Alpha 7.4. The Sony Alpha 7.4 is the best digital camera for photography that we've tested. It's a very well-rounded hybrid model that sits just shy of pro territory. With a new, higher-resolution 33MP sensor over its predecessor, the highly popular Sony Alpha 7.3, it captures highly detailed photos with plenty of leeway to crop and make edits. Dynamic range is excellent, and Sony's real-time autofocus continues to set the standard for what AF is capable of. It isn't a perfect camera by any means. Yes, it has in-body image stabilization (IBIS), but we've seen more impressive stabilization implementations, and if you want to shoot uncompressed RAW files, the camera's max burst rate drops to 6 frames per second, which is a bit disappointing for high-level sports or wildlife photography. Our previous favorite, the Canon EOS R50 Mark II, has it beat in that respect, with 12 frames per second burst shooting, or up to 40 frames per second in electronic shutter mode. However, with the wide selection of glass available for Sony Z-mount, including plenty of third-party lenses at a range of price points, the Alpha 7.4 has a notable advantage, especially as Canon keeps its RF mount cloistered from third-party interest. Number 2. Fujifilm XS20. Fujifilm knocked it out of the park with the original Fujifilm XS10, which is one of the best value APS-C cameras around. Somehow, though, they managed to improve the formula with the Fujifilm XS20. It's pricier, but it's a fantastic mid-range camera for hybrid shooters. With great ergonomics, an excellent tried-and-true sensor, and an updated autofocus system, it can handle all kinds of photo work. Plus, it records video in 4K at up to 60 frames per second and 6.2K at up to 30 frames per second, with internal 10-bit recording, making this a very impressive video camera. If you're an action photographer, an alternative like the Canon EOS R7 will nab you significantly faster shooting speeds and a slightly more intuitive autofocus system overall. However, it's more expensive, and lens options are still fairly limited for Canon's RF mount, so the XS20 is the way to go for most shooters. Number 3. Nikon Z50. If the Fujifilm XS20 is out of your price range, consider an entry-level model like the Nikon Z50. Like the Fujifilm, it uses an APS-C sensor, so it's less suited to low-light photography than our full-frame pics above. However, it performs admirably in low light for a crop sensor camera and offers plenty for both beginners and more advanced users. For one thing, it's one of the most well-built and comfortable entry-level cameras we've tested, with a weather-sealed body and generous hand grip. Its large viewfinder gives you a clear view of your subject, and the camera has a highly intuitive user interface that's accessible to newcomers. Battery life isn't amazing, however, so if you'd prefer a longer-lasting battery, the Sony Alpha 6400 is better. The Sony also has slightly better autofocus, but the ergonomics and user interface could be better. Number 4. Canon EOS R50. The Canon EOS R50 is one of the best bang-for-your-buck cameras on the market. It's a great choice for beginner photographers thanks to its simple and intuitive controls and a variety of auto-shooting modes that allow novice photographers to play around with different photography styles. On top of that, it has a highly accurate and easy-to-use autofocus system, and it's very portable for travel or street photos. Unlike the Canon EOS M50 Mark II, which it effectively replaces, this is also a good camera to grow with since it uses the same lens mount as full-frame Canons like the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. That means you can use both APS-C and full-frame lenses with the R50, making it easier to upgrade to a full-frame body down the line. The Olympus OMD EM10 Mark IV is another great budget option, especially if you want the more portable Micro Four Thirds system. There's a well-established lineup of lenses, as well. That said, its autofocus system is much less reliable than the Canon cameras, and the camera is a bit less suited to low-light shooting because of its smaller sensor. Number 5. Ricoh GR3. If you thought high-quality photography was reserved only for large interchangeable lens cameras, think again. The Ricoh GR3 is the small but mighty camera that will take your street or travel photography to the next level. With a truly pocketable minimalist design, you can take the GR3 anywhere and everywhere, and it's built around an excellent APS-C sensor that can capture fantastic images. Throw an IBIS and a bright f/2' lens, and you have a very capable point-and-shoot. That said, this is quite a pared-down camera. Its video features are almost non-existent, and it doesn't have a tilting screen or viewfinder. The Sony RX107 is a better fit if you want to record video on the side or need a zoom lens, but it's pricier and uses a smaller sensor. Of course, there's also the highly sought-after Fujifilm X100V, which uses an APS-C sensor and has a unique hybrid viewfinder. However, it's become nearly impossible to find.